his cousin did. What's up, everybody? We are the NFL experts. I am Mark D, and I am always joined by my guy, Wayne G. How's it going, my man?
It's going really well. I can't complain. I have to say, I think you and I have talked off the air about music. I can't remember. Are you a rap fan?
I am, yes.
So what do you think about Houdini?
I got to admit, it's not Eminem's best work. I was kind of hoping of more of an homage to the old, like, Slim Shady, like, pop songs. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
I liked it because, again, you have to remember, I remember when the Eminem show came out in 2002, and I remember thinking, this is the best rap album I've ever heard. Prior to that, it was All Eyes on Me with Tupac, and then it was Eminem with the Eminem show. And this, to me, did feel similar to that album, where it's a little bit more jokey. You know, a lot of stuff that Eminem's been done recently has been very serious and hardcore. And this is more of kind of like a jokey, fool around kind of song.
No, I still liked it, but I think I just wanted more. And you're right. And I think even in his dark way still, he kind of still was that in this song, you know?
Yeah.
Well, all right. I didn't think we were going to be talking about rap music right away. You totally throw me off, Wayno. Okay, everybody out there, if you like anything that you hear tonight and you want to send us a comment, a question, and you want to give us a follow, check us out on all our social media. We are NFL Experts Pod, plural, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. And if you have a topic for the show and want to write us an email, send us an email at nflexpertspod@gmail.com. Give us a shout.
That's right. Give us a follow, give us an email, participate in the show. This is as much your show as it is our show, and we appreciate you listening and following through with us. That said, last week we talked about NFL wide receivers and contract holdouts, and one of those guys was Justin Jefferson. He just got paid. Jalen Waddle was not holding out. He got paid. So those are the two contracts that happened this past week. Waddle gets 3 years, $85 million, and Justin Jefferson gets 4 years, $140 million, annual value of $35 million a year. So let's start with Waddle, because Miami Dolphins, how do you feel about them locking up Waddle for the next 3 years at $26 million a year?
I kind of have mixed emotions, Wayne. You're the type that you don't think that running backs should be given second contracts. It's one of those things you stand by, you know. One of the things I stand by is I don't think NFL teams should devote so much money to one position. And Miami is accommodating a lot of money to their wide receiver room this year. And I don't necessarily think that's a key to success.
Well, I do want to ask you about Miami's receiver room, because obviously you got $28 million I have here being allocated for Jalen Waddle. Now, Tyreek Hill is getting $26 million a year, but he wants a pay raise. He wants an extension for $34 million a year. I just wrote about this in Stadium Rant. Check it out. But
check it out.
He wants $34 million a year because A.J. Brown just got 32. But now that Jefferson's got 35, I wonder if Tyreek Hill's going to want even more than that. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Should Tyreek Hill get a raise? He just signed this contract in 2022.
No, man, he was the highest paid wide receiver for I don't know how long. Like, come on, give his teammate some due. Like, come on, man. Like, that's not going to help the team in the long run. Like I told you, I don't think devoting that much money to one position isn't good. Like, you need to spread that around and get better players all around, not just in one spot.
Right. So now they've got $54 million dedicated to these two receivers, and Tua's still waiting on a contract. You know, so you've got the receivers locked up. This almost sends a message to me, in my opinion, that, like, listen, we're going to lock up the receiving core, because we're going to let Tua walk and we're going to bring in a quarterback, and at least that guy's going to have somebody to throw to.
Ooh, that's a very interesting scenario, Wayne. I wouldn't even have thought of that. Like I told you last week, I would be very reluctant to pay Tua with the concussions, all of that. So, but who do they go get? Dak?
They could get Dak, but he's going to cost just as much as Tua, maybe more. I think more of a rookie receiver like Shadur Sanders, but you're not going to be drafting that high if you're Miami. So there's other guys in this draft. Obviously, Carson Beck. There's going to be a guy named Cam Smith who transferred to the University of Miami, so he's going to be a hometown guy. They could go out and get somebody like that. But whatever it is, it's going to be a cheaper option, I think, at quarterback because they've committed so much money, again, over $50 million to two receivers. I think that they're going to look at a quarterback that they can bring in on a rookie deal.
It's a very interesting scenario. I mean, I wouldn't even have thunk. But don't forget, they're also paying OBJ like $10 million. So their whole room is expensive.
Yeah, hopefully it works out for Tua this year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
As far as Jefferson, now Jefferson becomes the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, $35 million a year. I think Justin Jefferson is one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the NFL. So I have no problem with him getting top pay. My issue isn't so much with him. Like he got paid, great. He's showing up to camp. My question is how this impacts CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, and the other guys who are holding out. You know, how does this affect them? Because now if I'm CeeDee Lamb and I've essentially outperformed Justin Jefferson the last 2 years,
right,
I better get at least $35 million.
Right. And like we talked about last week, the Cowboys cap situation, I think once they figure out what they're doing with Dak, then they kind of will have some money leeway, you know, to pay CeeDee Lamb and give him the contract that he wants. So I'm not totally sure there why like they're dragging their feet on that. We talked in previous episodes that we think that he should probably hit the free agency market. I think, yeah, Jefferson got paid, but I think this affects all the wide receivers in a good way. This all means that the market value went up, and that means that they're all going to get paid more, which is it's good for players. I'm all for that. Go ahead, Wayne.
I was going to say, I did want to kind of bounce back to Waddle real quick. So I'm looking at my stats here. Again, Waddle's getting $28 million a year. Over the last 2 years, he was outperformed by Brandon Ayuk, who's getting half of that. So again, what does Waddle's contract do for the 49ers, who are trying to work out a deal with Brandon Ayuk?
Oh, well, this definitely doesn't help the teams because this means they all got to pay more, definitely. But Jefferson, I know you went back to Waddle, but I want to get back to Jefferson. And I think that there's 4 reasons why the Vikings had to do this deal. Because I think me and you both agree that we don't think Jefferson's the top guy, but he's one of the top guys. But this is why I think that they had to do it. Reason number 1, they have a rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. He's going to need weapons. He's going to need guys that are going to get open and easy touchdowns. Reason number 2, the Minnesota Vikings have an offensive-minded head coach, which means to me that he knows how to get the ball to these playmakers, and he's going to get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Reason number 3, the NFC North is probably the best offensive division in the NFL, I think, which means there's going to be a lot of high-scoring games, and so they're going to need a lot of points, and they're going to need Jefferson for that. Last reason, number 4, the game's changed a lot. Wide receivers now are protected, and they're relied on way more. And like I was saying earlier in the show, there's a few teams that are going to spend a lot on their wide receiver room. Just the 4 that I researched: Miami, Philadelphia, Tennessee, and Houston.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of reasons to do it, and I will add one more reason, and that is that this is the last contract they're going to give him. And I'll tell you why. Is because 3 seasons from now, Jordan Addison is due for an extension. He played great last year. I expect that to continue. And in 4 seasons, when this contract is up, it's time to renew J.J. McCarthy. So now if you've got McCarthy and Addison, You're not going to have money for Jefferson. So I think this is the last contract that Jefferson signs with Minnesota. And I thought they just figured, you know what? It's the last one. Here's the big bag of cash.
That makes sense, Wayne. It does.
All right. Now, speaking of new contracts and contract extensions, and you touched on it a little bit, Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers, they give him 2 years, $38 million, 19 per year, making him the highest paid running back in the NFL. He's 27 years old, 2-time All-Pro, Offensive Player of the Year last year. You know how I feel about it. I'm curious, how do you feel about Christian McCaffrey getting this huge extension?
Well, Wayne, I do agree with you that running backs shouldn't get a second contract, but there is a but. That I think McCaffrey is sort of the exception. He's a different kind of running back, man. He can run through the tackles. He can catch screens. He's almost like a wide receiver. And I think he's like a key piece to Shanahan's offense. So this makes sense for them. And like, I don't know if it's good for the league that he got this, because maybe it's raising the running back market also. But I like him. He's a Denver kid. I'm okay with it.
I have no issues with Christian McCaffrey, and I do think he's a fantastic player. As you mentioned, I don't think running backs should get large contract extensions. I say second deal because that's usually when you get that. But if you want to sign a running back to a second deal for 2 years and $12 million, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But it's these large extensions. And if I were to pick out a player historically who would be the face of this, don't give a guy a second extension, and here's why. Do you know whose face it would be?
Who?
Christian McCaffrey. Because Christian McCaffrey signed a huge contract extension with Carolina and then played 6 games in 2 years.
Oh, right? Yes, I remember that. He was on my fantasy team that year. He killed me, dude.
So not only did he only play 6 games in 2 years, but then he got traded in that third year to the San Francisco 49ers. So the Carolina Panthers paid him a huge bag and got back nothing. Do not do it again. I think San Francisco's making a mistake. I think this guy has a lot of wear and tear on these tires. And one of those tires is going to blow at some point, I think, this season.
And you know what? I'm with you. I thought last year, Wayne, they used him way too much. I kept saying, like, man, give this guy a break. I know he's like your offense, but, dude, the guy does everything. Like, he's going to get hurt at some point. I'm waiting for it. I'm with you on that.
So I don't like it. Good for them if they like it. I do like Brock Purdy. If this helps him out, great. I just don't think it does, because I think that McCaffrey gets hurt. He never comes back the same from it. And they're still paying him $19 million this year and next year. So $19 million this year for probably 7 or 8 games is my prediction. And then next year, maybe even not even playing at all next year, but still paying him.
Could happen. It's the NFL, man. I could see it.
And speaking of other players who maybe didn't perform as well, not like McCaffrey, Darren Waller is calling it quits. He's hanging it up and retiring from the NFL at the age of 31. Now, we can talk about some of the reasons. I know he's got a rap career that he's trying to pursue. I think he's retiring because he doesn't want to play.
Wayne.
He doesn't want to play for the Giants. That's why he's retiring.
Oh, you think that's what this is?
Kind of a Barry Sanders Megatron thing.
Honestly, maybe he really is retiring, man. He really hasn't done shit in the last, 4 years. He had a couple of good seasons in Vegas with the Raiders, but even then it was kind of just like he couldn't stay healthy there either. I think the whole thing is funny, Wayne. When I brought up this topic, I mainly brought it up because I just kind of want to make fun of him, because this video, I don't know if anybody else out there saw it, but it is absolutely ridiculous. It's like some rap country song that he wrote supposedly about his marriage with Kelsey Plum and all this other drama that's going on. They were only married for a year. Nobody knows why they're breaking up. She won't say anything. He won't say anything. It's very vague. I don't know. I just laughed. Like, if you actually listen to the song, Wayne, the song is laughable. Like, he uses auto-tune, and even with the auto-tune, he sounds terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Athletes shouldn't be rappers. Allen Iverson tried it. Kobe Bryant tried it. I remember that was the funniest thing to me. I love Kobe. He's my guy through and through. Maybe my favorite athlete of all time. One of the top 3 anyways. And the guy came out with a rap song, I believe. And I remember thinking to myself, like, all these rappers were coming from the inner cities and talking about the struggle that they were enduring growing up. Dude, he grew up in middle-class Pennsylvania to a dad who played professional basketball. He's a wealthy kid. Like, he had nothing what are you going to rap about? Like, there's nothing for you to rap about. And maybe Darren Waller is a little bit different situation, but what I can say is that Darren Waller, when they traded him to the Giants, people said Josh McDaniels was crazy to trade him to the Giants. Well, maybe Josh McDaniels isn't that crazy after all.
Right. You know what? You know me, my feelings about McDaniels. I don't think everything he's done has been absolutely that terrible. I would say a majority, yes. But I'm going to give him a little bit of praise here since you brought him up. He did draft Demaryius Thomas, probably going to be one of the best wide receivers the Broncos have ever had. He'll probably end up in the Ring of Fame. So there was some gems that he did pick for us, even after he was gone, that produced for us. So I'll give him that.
Okay. And I will say R.I.P. Demaryius Thomas, right? Because
yes, rest in peace, DT.
Taken way too soon.
Yep.
And then we have the next bit of news. Carolina Panthers, some stuff about their facilities being the worst in the NFL and needing an upgrade. And this honestly doesn't surprise me given David Tepper and how he is. He's probably the biggest cheapskate in the NFL. So I wouldn't be surprised if their weight room looks like a Planet Fitness.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that he's a cheapskate because that's exactly what I was going to say. Okay, this guy is the second richest owner in the NFL next to my guy, Rob Walton and Greg Penner. They're number one. This guy can afford these builds on his stadium. So I read up on it, Wayne, and he's asking for $650 million in taxpayer money, and he's going to fork up $150 million. Does that seem fair?
What's he looking to do? This is got to be more than just a weight room and a locker room. Like, what is the 650 going to go towards?
It's going to go towards like the whole stadium. Like they're going to get new screens, just a whole kind of like a redesign almost to the stadium because it's 30 years old. Apparently, I didn't know it was the worst in the league, but it is like probably the oldest in the league. So, and I know that their soccer team also uses it, so that could help with the wear and tear. So maybe they just want, like I saw some visual pictures of it, and it's just they just want to make it big and fancy. But it's like, why can't the owner just do it? Why does he got to ask the city for it?
I understand, and I understood it when Kansas City asked the city for money to rebuild their stadium, although they were asking for like $1 billion. But I understand because you have to remember this team is the lifeblood of the city. This team is drawing money and revenue into every business and hotel and everything around it. And so they're saying, hey, listen, we're generating money for you. Kick us a little bit so that we can build a better stadium, because if you don't, we'll go somewhere that does want all the business that we provide.
But Carolina doesn't have that same draw.
I think they do on game days. Again, they're not, they're the biggest team. They're not a Super Bowl winning team, but it is a professional football team, and the NFL is the most popular league in the world. And so they do draw a pretty good crowd every week. And again, it's not just the crowd from Carolina. You've got all people coming from outside Carolina to watch. So I don't know. I understand why they would ask for taxpayer money. It sounds like he is willing to pitch in a little bit. I don't have a problem with that. I would be curious to see the plans of how this $800 million is going to be spent, because if I know David Tepper, and I don't, but if I know David Tepper, that $800 million is going to be about $100 million to the facilities and $700 in his pocket.
Who knows? That's what I mean, and that's what I don't like. It's like he's asking for $650 million from the taxpayers, and he's only doing $150. Like he can't do more than $150. He's worth like $30 billion, dude.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't like it. I was like, cheap ass owner.
All right. Well, it's the Carolina Panthers, and you have this on the docket. I'll mention it, but I don't think a decision's come down yet about the Eagles and the Falcons. Right? We're still kind of waiting for that to play out.
Yeah, I just wanted us to mention it. It's a topic in the NFL right now. Basically the Falcons are being investigated and the Eagles are being investigated, partly because Kirk Cousins is an idiot and basically said they were tampering. And then Saquon Barkley's old coach for Penn State opened his mouth and kind of blurted out that they were tampering. So none of this would even come up if those dumbasses didn't say anything. So I guess I just brought it up to maybe talk about, like, what do you think the fines will be? Draft picks, money?
If it's me, if you're putting me in charge of the discipline.
Yes, you're Roger Goodell.
I'm Roger Goodell, and I'm going to fine each team $100,000 in a 7th round pick. Now we're done.
Only a 7.
Listen, all 32 teams tamper, all of them, every
True.
single one. So I can't play high and mighty and be like, oh, you broke the rules. I know everyone's doing it. And the only reason they got caught, like you said, is because the dummies opened their mouths. And I'm sure when that happened, Roger Goodell was like, why don't you just shut up? Now I have to do something. But they know,
Yes,
all the teams know that. I can promise you that the Giants were not mad about the Eagles tampering. The Vikings were not mad about the Falcons tampering. Nobody cared, but because it came out, he has to do something. So I'd say, all right, $100,000 fine, 7th round pick. Now, what will it actually end up being? I would be shocked if it's more than a second.
Huh. Well, everything that I read, Wayne, said that, like you said, that the punishment's coming soon. They're doing all this investigation. And it's like, if you're gonna just find these guys and do a pick, just do it already. Like, they could have done this already. Like, why are they dragging it out? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think he wants to do it. I think he's hoping it all goes away, or the longer he prolongs this whole thing, it can become a backstage or back page story. You know, when this punishment is finally handed down, if he waits till mid-season to do this, like, nobody's even going to care. They're like, hey, all right, it's the Bills and the Patriots, and this team got fined 7th round pick. Nobody's going to care. So I think he's just drawing it out until he feels like nobody's even going to notice that he did it.
Yeah, that's the total NFL thing to do, Wayne. Yeah.
And speaking of discipline, the Washington Commanders have released, was it Brandon McManus. They released him after 2 women have alleged that he sexually assaulted them on a plane to London last year. And so I always have mixed feelings on these sorts of things, right? Obviously, I'm not victim blaming or anything like that. I do believe in letting things play out. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the team could have suspended him with pay pending an investigation, or even without pay or deferred pay pending this investigation. Then if he's found guilty, then he doesn't get the pay. If he's found innocent, then he gets the pay. It's like back channel or whatever, it comes back to him. I like that idea because I do think that justice should prevail and we shouldn't be firing people just based on allegations. However, I understand that it's a bad look for the team if you keep this guy and you let him keep playing while this is going on. I mean, even Adrian Peterson sat out a whole year while that whole investigation went on. So I understand they have to do something. And like we talked about a couple episodes with Harrison Butker, right? He's not Harrison Butker. He's not hitting 7 of 7 from 50 yards out, right? He's not as good a kicker. Otherwise, he might have gotten like a suspended sentence kind of thing while they're waiting. But because he's really not that great to begin with, they let him go. I understand it's not an easy cut because they let Jordan Sly go. Not Jordan Sly, but Sly. They let Sly go to bring him in. But I get it. I see it both sides. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'm with you on that, Wayne. I think I kind of feel bad for him because, like you said, I don't think they should fire him on just pure allegations, because he could go to court and he could win his case. And it could be completely false that these flight attendants are making up with whatever happened. But I think mainly the reason why this happened is like why he got let go is because the Commanders have a new owner, new ownership group. And I think from all the Dan Snyder stuff that happened, they don't want to be associated with anything negative. So I think they were just like, let's just nip this in the bud, and we're not going to have anything negative to start our franchise, so we're just going to let him go.
Now, where I will take a stand, and I will go against him on this, is I don't know all the details of it. Obviously, there's court orders, and people aren't saying things because this all has to play out in court. Let's say it's something like a couple of the stewardess, he slapped him on the rear end and was like, hey, like a wedding singer, Class A choice meat,
Right.
And did that. Well, technically that is sexual assault. Now he didn't grab him in the front. He didn't do anything like shove them up against the wall and assault them. He may have just slapped them on the rear end, and that's the sexual assault we're talking about. I think there are a lot of people who might say, well, that's not that big a deal, so he should be let. It's still sexual assault. He should know better. He's a professional athlete. If it is just slapping him on the rear end, he should still get the full extent of the law.
Right. He shouldn't do that. That's totally unacceptable behavior. But also, I'm going to be devil's advocate here, Wayne, in that I feel like maybe these little flight attendants are a little sensitive because I was reading about it and all the charges that they're trying to against him, like mental anguish, all this crazy stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, like, no little slap on the butt is going to like make you feel all that. I'm sorry. I don't buy that. I think it's sort of a cash grab. I don't know for sure, but that's my gut feeling.
Right. And again, I don't want to victim blame, so I don't want to necessarily say a cash grab, but let's look at the facts. This is not a criminal investigation. This is a civil suit. So they didn't file charges against him for this. They just want to get money from him for it.
Yep. Which is another reason why he shouldn't have got fired. Because not even a criminal case.
Yeah. But like you said, bad luck for the team if they keep him and they let him play.
Yep.
All right. Now I have the Buffalo Bills. I hate this fucking story. So the Buffalo Bills decide they're going to sign a gold medal wrestler named Gable Stevenson. And he's good. Not only did they sign him, this isn't like Brock Lesnar when he got the 1-year deal or the tryout with the Vikings.
He got a 2-year deal.
3. It was a 3-year deal for this guy.
Okay.
He's never played football. He's a wrestler.
Right.
And I'm blown away by this because I just went on this whole rant and wrote a paper about how if you haven't grown up playing football your whole life, you cannot play professional football. And yet here's a guy who's never played pro football and just got a 3-year deal.
Okay, Wayne, I brought this topic up kind of to prod you a little because I knew you were going to be like this and have this reaction. But it's interesting because it's like, why are they doing this? Apparently this guy has won a bunch of Olympic gold medals, a bunch of national titles. He won like the most prestigious trophy you can win in college as a wrestler. But the main thing when it comes to football related is that they're hoping that his leverage techniques are going to help him translate into a good defensive lineman. That's what they're hoping on. That's what this whole reason why they signed him. Why they signed him a 3-year deal, I'll never know why. That seems really stupid to me. But I read that Sean McDermott apparently was a former wrestler. And so maybe it's just like a kinship to him or something. I don't know.
I don't care. And I don't care about all the awards he's won or any of the medals that he's won. You know what? Jenna Jameson won Porn Star of the Year, Best Group Scene, Best Female on Female Scene. Why not give her a 3-year deal? Right? I mean, she's got an award winner, right? She's got a lot of awards. So I don't understand this at all. The guy has no football experience. He has no business being on an NFL field. If you want to give him a tryout, like in the preseason and see if he can do it, fine. And for all I know, I guess he did get a tryout. So maybe he showed up and they showed him what to do technique wise. And he's like, oh yeah, that's just like this technique in wrestling. And it clicked right away for him. Maybe I'm way off base. I don't think I am. I think this is crazy.
I'm with you, Wayne. I think when I brought this up, I was like, we have to talk about this because I knew that we were both going to be like, this is absolutely sort of insane. Like, I'm thinking maybe this is just going to be a training camp thing and he probably won't work out. But I do want to mention also, this is kind of becoming a trend in the NFL because the Chiefs, they signed a former European rugby player. What's his name? Zamet, I think his name is. And they gave him a deal thinking he's going to make the team.
Well, and James Devlin was a rugby player for the Patriots, and he was a fullback for them. Rugby and football are very similar. All right. Wrestling and football, not so much. You can't grab people on the football field. That's called holding, whether you're on offense or defense. It's defensive holding or it's offensive holding. Wrestling is all about grabbing people. I just I don't understand it.
Okay, you're right. I don't understand it either, but the guy's name was Louis Rees Zamet, and he was a European rugby player. Chiefs signed him. He probably won't even make the squad, I don't think.
Well, we'll find out when the Chiefs play the Bills and these two guys have to face off against each other. It'll be a clash of the Titans. So you had asked me about most interesting players, most interesting teams going in the 2024 season. I put some thought into it. I have a lot of players, so I'll tackle players last because I have like 4 players that I find very interesting.
I should have mentioned, Wayne, I only picked one, so you totally went over beyond. So now I'm going to have to think of some. So go ahead.
No, that's okay. So I figured we could start with team because I only have one team as far as the most interesting team.
Okay.
And that's the team that I picked to win the NFC Championship, and that's the Green Bay Packers. You've got Jordan Love, who's going to be playing his second year as a starter. They got Josh Jacobs. They got Xavier McKinney. They had a really good draft. I think that this team, I think I have them 14-3, winning the NFC Championship. So to me, the Packers are the most interesting team in the NFL this year.
And you know what? I kind of thought that you were going to say that after talking last week when you said that they were going to win the NFC. So that doesn't surprise me that you picked them. My team, I'm not sure if I'm going to surprise you or if this is going to be predictable of me, but I'm going with the Jets. You know how much I love the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, Wayne. They have 6 primetime games. I've texted you this in the first 11 weeks of the season. So the NFL is like putting them on showcase. They're like, all right, Rodgers, you're healthy. Let's go. You know, they're making him. They're really putting it hard on him. You know what? I'm okay with that. You know, I don't like the guy. I really want to see if he's going to live up to the hype of being the savior for the Jets and turning this team around and taking them to the Super Bowl because they have such a good defense and they're so good. But like you said last week, the Jets are going to jet.
They are, and they're going to finish 8-9. I think I had them last week when I was doing the thing. So, all right, those are the two teams. But let me ask you this: is Aaron Rodgers your most interesting player?
No.
Who do you got?
My most interesting player, Wayne. I'm not sure. Like this is another one. I'm not sure if I'm going to surprise you or if I'm predictable. But the player I'm going with is Caleb Williams. He is the most interesting person to me because, like I said about Rodgers, I want to see the hype. Everybody's talked that he is a generational quarterback. And the last generational quarterback, you're not going to agree with me, Wayne, was Andrew Luck. And he lived up to the hype. It's too bad that he had too many injuries and he just couldn't do it anymore and he retired early. But I think that guy was going to have a great career. He was already on that trajectory. And I'm really curious to see if Caleb Williams is going to live up to this hype as this guy.
Yeah, I will say I do disagree with you because I do think that Andrew Luck is the second to last generational quarterback we've had because Trevor Lawrence is the last generational talent that we've had. But that said, I will tell you my 4 players, I have Caleb Williams as one of the players. He was the first name I wrote down. Same reasons as you. A lot of hype coming into this league. A lot of people hating on him right away. Yep. He is a special player. If you watch the tape on him, he can make every single throw that you could ever wish a quarterback to make. I'm a little concerned about his size, but they've done a really good job building around him. I think he's going to have a great year. He is fascinating. Another one coming off of injury for me, Anthony Richardson. Obviously, the guy's got a cannon for an arm. He's 6'5". He's big. He reminds me of Cam Newton a little bit. So I'm curious to see how he comes back from injury. Joe Burrow, you're a guy.
Yes.
Can he stay healthy for the whole year? That's the question, right? So that's why that's interesting to me. And then, of course, Jordan Love, Green Bay Packers. How does he do in year 2 as a starter?
Okay, so if I had to name some more, Wayne, I'm glad that you brought up Joe Burrow because, yes, he is one of the quarterbacks that I am thinking about. You know me, Wayne, I read every little thing about the NFL, and I've been reading that he hasn't even been throwing with the ones. They keep making excuses like, oh, it's not his day, oh, this and this, but he's got a wrist injury, and they're saying that this wrist injury is something that he might not come back from. It's like a serious injury that he might not be able to throw the same. It's serious, and I think they're just trying to die it down like it's not that serious, and they're probably hoping that it's going to turn around, like the surgery is going to help it turn around. So I'm worried that he just might come into the season injured again, which he has done like his whole fucking career. I feel bad for the guy. He's always injured. And my next one would be, of course, I'm a Bronco fan, Bo Nix. He's a big question mark. You know, I don't follow college, but from what I saw, he looked really good for Oregon. I'm kind of hoping that translates to Peyton's offense with Denver. I know we might struggle this year, but if I can just see signs of him, like Justin Herbert, for example, like he didn't have a great season team-wise, but you saw signs that, oh, this dude's going to be great. If I can like get that from Bo, I'll be happy with that.
You should be, and I can promise you're not going to get Justin Herbert production from Bo Nix. That's not going to happen.
Right, this is an example, Wayne.
Yeah. Justin Herbert was 6'6" with a cannon for an arm coming in the league. Bo Nix is the check down guy. So 2 completely different quarterbacks. Although I do understand why you would be excited and want to see him. And obviously talking quarterbacks does bring us into our next section, which was your idea. And I'll give you credit for it. Obviously, we're going to do a quarterback draft, and we're drafting these quarterbacks based on, would you build your franchise around this guy starting today? We've been given expansion teams. Would we build around these guys, right?
Yes. I just had the idea. I was thinking, I've been listening to a lot of, like I was saying earlier, I read and listen to all of the shows, everything. I gather up as much as NFL knowledge as I can possibly, basically partly to help our show, but just because I'm a nerd. And one of the shows I listened to consistently kind of did this. Like, they kind of did it off the cuff. They were just like, hey, let's just pick some quarterbacks. And I was like, hey, me and Wayne should do that. Like, we know more than these fucking guys. So let's put out our list. And okay, so Wayne gave me the first pick, and which I thought was pretty cool. I decided to do this, so maybe that's why he gave it to me. But that just meant that I'm going to pick Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. There's no question about that. It's an easy pick.
Absolutely easy pick. And the reason I gave you the first pick is because I knew every single pick that you were going to make, and I knew how to pick my players based on who you were going to pick. So I said, hey, get the first pick. I obviously would have loved Patrick Mahomes, but I felt like I could put together a better 5 picks going second. And I agree with you on Patrick Mahomes. He would have been my first pick if I had the first pick. I think that's a no-brainer. He's the best quarterback in the league. He's only 28 years old.
3 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs. Yeah.
The second pick and the 4th pick is where it gets interesting for me. So we'll wait till the 4th pick till I explain my strategy. But the number 2 pick, I go Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills. Obviously, it's him and Mahomes every year, except for the years that Burrows is healthy. But Allen is 27 years old. He's one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. Cannon for an arm. Gets better every single year. So Josh Allen, number 2 pick.
And I like that. If I was you, I would have picked number 2. I would have picked Josh Allen also. And I should mention, Wayne did have a strategy, which I didn't know. I thought we were just going off the cuff and picking quarterbacks. But Wayne, you always overdo it and go above and beyond. I love it, dude. So my next pick was, we just talked about him, Joe Glass, Mr. Glass, Joe Burrow.
And again, I understand Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, he can beat Mahomes. Not only face Mahomes in a championship game, but he can beat Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl. He's shown that. So I understand that about him when he's healthy. I do have questions about his health. And obviously when you made that pick, I wrote, haha. And then I made my pick. And you thought I was making fun of your pick. And I wasn't making fun of the pick. I was laughing at that. I knew that's how you were going to go. And
don't act like you know me, Wayne.
Then I went with Lamar Jackson at 4. Now here's why I said haha and why it was funny and why the strategy came into play. When you picked Mahomes, my initial thought was, I want Lamar Jackson. He's my number 2 quarterback in the NFL. And I thought about it for a really long time before I made my pick. I kept thinking, do I want to pick Lamar Jackson? And I said in my head, if I pick Lamar Jackson, he's going to take Josh Allen at 3. And I want Josh Allen. But I think if I take Josh Allen, he'll take Burrow at 3, and I can get Jackson and Allen. So I took Allen, you went Burrow, and I got Lamar at 4.
Yes, Wayne, you're starting to know me. We have only done like almost 30 shows. I would hope you'd fucking know me by now. So yes, you predicted me. You called me out. You know I was going to pick Joe Glass. That's my guy. I'm always going to root for him. So yes, you were right. But my next pick, I'm not sure if you were surprised by this, but CJ Stroud. Really like the kid. He's an Ohio State kid. I don't know if you know this, Wayne, but I really like Ohio State. I'm not sure why. I caught always just like the uniform. So ever since I was a young kid, I just started rooting for him. So I root for him because he's like for my team. And I just thought he had an amazing rookie year. And if he can keep that trajectory up, I'm definitely going with that guy.
Yeah, CJ Stroud, 22 years old, offensive rookie of the year, played way better than anyone expected. And I'm glad to see Ohio State quarterbacks getting some love. I do hope that Justin Fields actually has a great NFL career, because I hate people who say Ohio State quarterbacks can't make it in the NFL. I hate that. So
good.
I do like the CJ Stroud pick, and I'll tell you what I really liked about it. I didn't know where you were going at 5. I didn't know what route you were going to go, and this pick tipped me off to your train of thought. So I knew what I had to do with my next couple of picks. So I knew when you picked Stroud, I knew as soon as you picked Stroud, because I knew at some point he was going to get picked. I knew that your next pick was Jordan Love. I said, based on the fact that you took Stroud, I said, I know Love is his next guy. And I wanted Jordan Love for myself, but I wanted to wait because I want Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is, the guy that is.
I was going to give you him, Wayne. You should.
And I was going to give you Burrow. So, but you took him at 2. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to take Jordan Love. And I said, because I know if I take Jordan Love, then Mark's going to draft Herbert and I'll get Lawrence with the next pick. So who did you take after I took Jordan Love?
I took Herbert. So, yes, you were correct. I picked Herbert. You totally picked every one of my picks except for my last one because I changed it last minute. But yes, Wayne, you do know me. You do know the guys I like. So, yes, I did pick Justin Herbert.
Right. And Justin Herbert, like we talked about, 5,000 yards passing, multiple 4,000-yard passing seasons. You can't go wrong with a guy. And he's only 25 years old, or no, 26 years old. So Lawrence is only 24. I bet you wouldn't believe that Lawrence was actually younger than both Jordan Love and Herbert. But Lawrence is only 24. I do think that he is going to be one of the best top 3 quarterbacks in the league at some point. Although, man, we've got so many good quarterbacks in this league. We could have easily done 20 or 30 picks.
We could have, yes.
I went with Lawrence.
Go ahead. And you know what? I don't have as much confidence as you as in Lawrence, so I was going to let you have that pick anyway, Wayne. Like, you didn't have to do your strategy for that one necessarily because I wasn't going to pick him. I was going to let you have him. I know he's your guy. But okay, I'm going to tell the audience. Initially, my last pick was Goff, but I've thought about it, and I was like, you know what, Goff. I feel like Goff is the type of quarterback that he needs everything around him to be good for him to really be good. And for me, that's not necessarily a quarterback that I want. So I went with Baker. I've always liked Baker. I like that he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's done so much to get where he is. So I went with Baker.
Well, I do have to tell the audience the full truth of this story, because when you told me that you picked Baker Mayfield, you said, I wanted to go with somebody younger than Jared Goff. And Baker's the same age as Jared Goff.
I thought he was.
So you picked somebody the same age to go. And then to mention that Goff needs things around him. He's got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is a great receiver. Baker's got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and you're like, he doesn't need things around him? How good was he in Cleveland?
All right, whatever, Wayne. I like Baker, so I'm going with Baker.
Yeah, that's fine. So you went with a senior citizen, and then I rounded things out by taking a rookie. I went with Caleb Williams on the 10th pick. And obviously, we don't know how Caleb's going to be, but I think he's got immense talent. He is Trevor Lawrence 2.0 or Andrew Luck 3.0, however you want to look at it. So he, I think, is going to be a guy who's really great. I would build my franchise around him. He was my my last pick.
You know what? I can't hate that pick, Wayne. That was a good one. I thought about going with one of those young guys, but he'd be the only one I would have picked. So you stole him. So I'm like, okay.
So Man Hours chiming in, they said Baker has always had good players around him too. I don't think always, but when he went to Tampa, definitely he had some good players around him.
Yes, but you don't got to agree with Wayne all the time.
He says, and he had OBJ and Landry Jones. So I guess he did have some decent receivers.
He did.
He had Amari Cooper before he left. And then he says, Lawrence the bust. Lawrence isn't a bust. I mean, Lawrence played, he was a Pro Bowler, 2 years ago. The team went 9-8 last year, just missed the playoffs. He was injured last year. He had a knee injury. And so they did okay. Not great. I'll admit, not great. We're going to talk about the NFC South or the AFC South, today.
Wait, so I'm misunderstanding, Wayne. Is he saying that he is a bust or isn't he?
Buck thinks that he is a bust.
Okay, Buck, I'm with you.
Okay. I disagree because I don't think you guys know what a bust is. And then Buck decides to get really crazy and say he will be replaced by Mac Jones this season.
That was a woo. That was a shot.
Mac Jones couldn't beat me out for an NFL job. I promise you. He is absolutely terrible. So let's not get crazy with the Mac Jones talk. But all right, speaking of we talked about these schedules. We got the AFC North, the AFC South. Let me grab, which one do I have first?
Last two divisions I should mention.
What?
The last two divisions I should mention. We've covered them all. These are the last two.
In the AFC, we still have the NFC West and the NFC South.
Yes, that's what I meant. Last of the AFC.
Okay. So we'll start with the AFC North, let's say, because I actually think that this is going to be the best division in all of football. And the records go on to show it. Now, before we do dive into these, I did want to give you some crap about your picking style or your schedule record style. When we first started doing this, Mark said to me, Wayne, I want you to be a schedule geek like me because you're a draft geek, and I want you to get into the schedule and be like really dive deep into it like I do. So what do? I pull up every team's full schedule. I pick wins and losses. I then keep them on record so that I can make sure I have all the wins and losses that line up with every single division and every single team. And Mark says, oh, I just look at the over-under and I just pick whichever one I think it's going to be.
You know, Wayne, I'm just going to tell you, fuck off, dude. But yes, you're correct. Sorry. Okay. Let me just defend myself a little bit. Okay, I do want you to be a scheduled nerd, but I didn't expect you to go that far. I just meant I really want you to like the schedule thing, like doing the predictions, not doing a deep dive into every schedule, every wins and loss, and like I love that, but I didn't expect you to do all that, bro.
Well, I am a nerd about numbers. And so before we dive into these, I do want to throw up some of Buck's comments here real quick. So Buck from Man Hour, listen to Man Hour. He's actually been off the air for a little bit. He's coming back. I want to say next month, maybe. Buck, let us know. I know he's coming back. But he said he needs players around him, meaning Trevor Lawrence. Listen, everybody needs players around him. Nobody wins a Super Bowl with crap receivers except for Tom Brady. And I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. He says, and now he does. The Jags are kind of loaded. Loaded is, I wouldn't use that word. And then... Yeah. Buck says AFC North, the best NA. Browns will suck. Like, Ravens will be okay. Yeah, I don't think that he is right. We'll get into the records. There's a website that does that for you. Yes, Buck's site, which is, I believe, NFLtoday.co, is where you can go to see Buck's website. He's got the Man Hour Radio stuff there. We were working on getting an NFL experts page on there as well. So that's in the work. And then John Peebles says, what's up, bitches? Hello, John Peebles.
What up, John?
And finally, Man Hour, June 18th, just wrapped up my master's. Congratulations, Buck is now he has a master's degree. So congratulations. Yes.
No wonder why he was off air. He's doing some important shit.
And then he says, no, there's a site that you can pick all the games and it does the wins and losses. Okay, well, I didn't do it that way because I'm an idiot. All right. So let's start off with the AFC North, because like I said, this is the best division to me in football. I kick things off with the Ravens, and I have them 13-4 winning the division. Now, how did you see the Ravens playing out?
Okay, so Wayne, I know you talked shit to me about not doing the schedules, and you know what? I thought about that this week when I did mine. So I went through, I didn't go through all of them, but the main ones, like the top two of each division, I went through their whole schedule, and I'm like, okay, and I did wins and losses. I think my boy Burrow's going to be healthy this year, and I think they're going to win the North. I think it's going to be tough, like you said. I think it's going to be a very scrappy division. I don't think it's going to be the best division in football. Like I said earlier, I think it's going to be the NFC North. But I see them Bengals topping division out at 11-6. The Ravens are going to have they're not going to have a good year this year. I don't think. They lost a lot of players. I don't think Lamar is going to have an MVP type year. I saw that he was thin. I'm worried about that. I don't think that's a good thing. So I think they're going to be 10-7. Browns 9-8. Steelers 7-10.
Okay, so I'll go through all my records because I didn't really realize we're going to go through all of them. So I have the Ravens 13-4 winning the division. I do have the Bengals at 12-5 getting a wild card, and then I have the Steelers at 10-7 finishing third. They may get some sort of a playoff recognition, and then the Browns 6-11 for the Browns.
Ooh. Why no faith in the Browns, Wayne?
I have no faith in Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Jackson's the wide receiver. Deshaun Watson, I don't have faith in him. Maybe he gets hurt again. Maybe he gets another massage. Yeah, we get stuck with Dorian Thomas-Robinson. It's just not going to work out great. So I have them at 6-11. The great defense, but I just think you're going to need to score points, especially in this division. So John Peebles put in his record predictions. He had 11-6 for the Ravens. He has the Bengals at 10-7. He has the Steelers at 9-8 and the Browns at 7-10. So we're only one game off on the Browns there, John. And Buck said the Steelers are going to be a 12-win team. Maybe. I'm not going to say no. I have them at 10.
You guys got way more faith in the Steelers than I do.
Well, because they've
And
got
you
a
know
great
why?
quarterback who played on a crappy team last year.
Yeah, if he stays the quarterback.
He'll be the quarterback. And then Man-Hour says, because Watson sucks, I guess referring to the Browns and their struggles.
Yes.
So that's how I have the NFC North playing out. Now, the NFC South was interesting because, again, I did the North schedule first, then I did the South, and they play each other a lot this season. So a lot of these wins and losses transferred over to the AFC South. I'll let you run through it because if we're going to do all 4 teams, how do you have this division, the AFC South, playing out?
I think it's going to be tight. I think they're going to battle each other just like, I don't know. I just feel like this is one of those divisions that all the teams are kind of, wouldn't say equal, but they're all pretty similar and pretty. And so I just think it's going to be a battle for this division. I think the Texans are barely going to win the division with 10-7. And I think the Ravens and the Browns are both going to have, I'm reading the wrong ones. The Texans are going to have 10-7. I think the Colts and Jags are both going to have 9-8 records. And I think Titans are not going to have a really good year, even though they have improved their line. They still have a rookie quarterback. Still got a lot to prove. A new coach. I'm going 5-12 for the Titans.
Okay. Well, we're not going to be too far off here. Before I get into my picks, I do have that John People says Buck is jacked up on Mountain Dew. Yeah. Every night. You got to drink something nice to go to sleep. Man-Hour says great defense, great head coach, average quarterback with a good offense. Now, I'm not sure which team that is. That's the Browns, but I don't think the Browns have a good offense. And then John People says Texans win 11-6. So here's where I'm going to be a little bit different. All right. Is I have the Colts winning that division at 10-7. And then I have the Jaguars and the Texans both going 9-8. And then I have the Titans going 4-13. So we both agree the Titans are going to be kind of junk this year.
So you're banking on Anthony Richardson having a healthy year and a good year this year.
Just like you're banking on Joe Burrow having a healthy, good year for the Bengals.
Right. That's why I'm just asking. I'm just because the way that guy plays, man, I'm kind of curious if he will stay healthy. If he does, like, all the power to him. But if he gets hurt, are you okay with Joe Flacco?
I am not. This is all based on. Are you okay with Jake Browning?
Actually, yes, because he actually won without Burrow. So yes, I would be.
Okay, well, I'm just saying both of us are counting on our starters to carry the team.
Right. I just had to bust your balls a little way.
A couple more comments here. We have John Peebles says the Colts 8-9, not far off. I have them 10-7. You know, again, it depends on Richardson. If Richardson does get hurt, then I honestly think Richardson is better than CJ Stroud. So that might be an unpopular hot take. And then he has the Jaguars.
I don't agree with that one.
Jaguars at 9-8. That's where I have them. So me and you, same page on that one, John. All right. You said you have a 2-part 2-minute warning.
I do. Do you want to go first and
I never
plug
came
an
up
article?
with
We know.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? I just submitted an article. It comes out tomorrow, Wednesday. Oh, today's Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday at 3 noon. It comes out at noon. I don't even know when it comes out. So it comes out tomorrow at noon on stadiumrant.com, and it is titled Caitlin Clark is Michael Jordan of the WNBA. And I'm not going to tell you what it's all about. I will just say that it's not about her scoring ability, but she is Michael Jordan of the WNBA. Only Mark knows what this article is about, but I promise you it's going to be a great read.
Yes, everybody check it out. Wayno loves stirring the pot, so these articles are very interesting because you never know where his opinion's going to go. He shocks me every week with his opinions, so check it out. Okay, so like I said, I have a two-parter, and it's a two-parter, about my Broncos. It's just two things that one I agree with, one I don't agree with. Okay, so PFF came out with a complete ranking of everybody's roster. And I'm not sure, Wayne, I'm like you, I read everything. So I literally read every team, everything that they talked about, why they think this. And for the most part, I do agree that we're on the bottom. We should be in the bottom. But they had the Panthers and the Giants ahead of us. They basically had us ranked dead last. And I don't think that we're the worst. I think we might be one of the worst, but we're not the worst. And I'm glad I texted you about it because I know you're a football expert. and I just wanted your opinion. And I kind of knew that you were going to say what you said. And I don't think the Giants have a better record than the Broncos. I don't think Daniel Jones has really shown that much. He's coming off injury. They lost Saquon Barkley. They don't really have they just got Neighbors, and they have so their wide receiver room is really unproven. I don't know. I just think that we have more continuity with our team than they do, and I just think that this is more Bronco hate, like I always say, Wayne. You're probably going to disagree.
I disagree with the Bronco hate, but I know when you texted me and you said, do you think that the Panthers and the Giants have worse teams have better teams than the Broncos? And I said, not the Giants. I have the Giants going 0-17. If you watched the show last week, they're a bad team. They're really bad. So the Panthers, I said, they do have a lot of really good young pieces, both on offense and defense, and it's really up to Bryce Young. Bryce Young is going to be the difference between them going potentially 9-8 or going 2-15. But they have the pieces to go 9-8. The Giants do not, and I do think that the Broncos are better than Giants.
Yes, so thank you for proving my point that we are not the worst roster in the NFL. It is the fucking Giants. It's not us. We can be 31, but we're not 32. So I really like PFF, but not this time. Okay, so then the last thing, this one I agree with. Okay, so ESPN came out with a projected mock draft for next year of who they, just by teams and where they think they'll pick in next year's draft. And they have the Broncos picking third overall. Which, you know what, I can see that happening. We're going to have a rookie quarterback. It's going to be a transition. We're rebuilding. A lot of people know that we're going to have a shitty record next year. We are rebuilding. Our roster is not there, but it's getting there. So, yeah, we're going to have a high pick because we're going to be terrible. So I agree with that.
I completely agree with them being in the top 5. I think the Patriots will be right there with them. I think that those are two teams.
You said they were number 1, Wayne.
All right. Well, if they get number 1, I mean, they can't get Shadur Sanders because they already drafted Drake May, and I guess they're banking on him. So I'm curious who goes where, probably a tackle or an edge rusher or something like that at the top of the draft, cornerback, wide receiver. But yeah, I agree with the Broncos being in the top 5, the Patriots, the Giants. I can't believe they didn't have the Giants at number 1, but you said that they have the Giants apparently being decent.
I guess, which they have a lot of faith in Brian Daboll from that one season he had with them, that he did take him to the playoffs. But that was a lot of relying on Daniel Jones running a lot and Saquon being there. They don't have Saquon anymore. That's not going to be the same team.
Well, I do want to run through all of these comments while we were doing your 2-minute warning and my sales pitch on reading my article. We're going to start off with Man Hour. Buck says Titans will win the South. I will be stunned. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand Will Levis, great arm. They added Tyler Boyd. They added Calvin Ridley. They already have DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks. They got J.C. Latham at tackle, and that was their weakest spot on the offensive line. I guess I wouldn't be shocked if they do well, but I mean, if they beat the Jaguars, the Texans, and the Colts, and they win that division, I would be completely stunned.
Me too.
John Peeble says, say what? I'm guessing that's to Buck. Buck says, anything about the WNBA, probably a bust. Okay. And he says, okay, first off, PFF is wrong.
Thank you,
then
Buck.
Man Hour says, Giants might battle for the East title. Are we just getting ridiculous now? Listen, Buck, put the Mountain Dew down, right? Or what are you mixing with that? Like some Tito's or something? Like, you're definitely drunk off your rocker. We've got the Titans winning the South, and we've got the Giants competing for the NFC East with the Cowboys and the Eagles. It's not happening.
He's all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
And then Peeble says, both are struggling, both under 500 teams. Couldn't agree more. Man Hour says, can't have Bronco hate until they win more than 8 games. Okay, that's fair.
That is fair, Buck.
And Raiders 32. I guess he means Raiders 30. Oh, 32nd. They're the 32nd team, in his opinion.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Buck.
I think that was a shot at John in the group chat.
I'll still take it.
All right. So, hey, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Man Hour. Thank you, Buck, and thank you, John Peebles, for chiming in. Definitely make sure you check out Man Hour Radio, Man Hour Football, Man Hour NFL. These guys, their show is awesome. It's what really inspired me to do a show. So I have my Man Hour shirt. If I knew Buck was going to be on tonight chatting with us, I would have worn my Man Hour hoodie. I am part of the Man Hour network in a sense. So I love those guys, and I appreciate them chiming in.
Yes, and I was going to say, we need to get Buck on the show. I know he's been working hard on his masters, but come on, Buck. Come on, the NFL experts. Let's do some chatting.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and party on, Mark.
Wait, before I say party on, Wayne,